And then comes, once the ground is leveled, the most important part of a Hindu temple is starting, that is the Vastu Purusha Mandala. Vastu Purusha Mandala is a complex subject. I'll briefly touch upon it because cannot go into details while talking. It's a very difficult subject. What happens is that it's a ritual diagram which needs to be put on the ground, and on the place where you put this diagram, the sanctum will come up. The Garbhagriha, which we call the Garbhagriha, will come up, and since that is going to be the most important part in a temple and the most sacred part of a temple, this Vastu Purusha Mandala has to be done with proper rituals. It has to be placed on the ground, and that site becomes the most sacred site. Then there are other rituals which will be done, like after that the site, that place is dug up a bit, and they put in various things. A tortoise is put, garva, pot is put, signifying the Devi as the garva. So these procedures are very important, but the Guru, Acharya and the Sapati will guide the donor, and it will be done accordingly. And I'll say a few lines on this. Vastu Purusha Mandala is a ritual diagram that regulates the site plan and the ground plan, and is drawn on the ground before the temple construction starts. And this is the place where the temple will stand. And it will always be square. Very important, it will always be square, because the square shape represents the heaven. And always keep in mind, a square shape is equal to heaven, and a round shape, a circular shape, represents the earth. So a temple Garbhagriha will always be square. And this is the first step in Indian architectural science, and this is how the temple starts. So the first step in a temple procedure is drawing the Vastu Purusha Mandala on the ground where the sanctum will stand. Vastu Purusha Mandala is very interesting because it is made up of 3 words, of which Vastu refers to the site chosen, Vastu is the site, and which is the bodily existence, that is the form, the structure, something which you can see, that is the Vastu. Purusha, Vastu Purusha Mandala, now the second part is the Purusha. Purusha is the universal essence, which means it has no substance, it is formless, it has no form, it is just the essence, the divine essence, that is the Purusha. And Mandala is any closed polygon, which is a square in case of a temple. And once this Vastu Purusha Mandala is put, this becomes the fundament from which the temple structure will rise. Vastu Purusha Mandala, the place where it is put, it is where the meeting point of the heaven and the earth happens, and it becomes accessible to the man, the human being that walks into a temple. And Vastu Purusha Mandala is very interesting because it is a square, it has grids in it. A temple Vastu Purusha Mandala generally will have 62 grids. There are 2 types of Vastu Purusha Mandala, one with 62 grids, other with 81. Temple ones generally go with 62 grids, and grids meaning squares, small squares inside the larger square, big square. And the center square point is where the Brahman is, the supreme consciousness site, and that is where we say is the dark place. That is where the supreme consciousness, where no artificial light or anything is there, just supreme place, and from where the eternal light comes out. Basically the God is there. So that is the right at the center. Beyond it, very interestingly, this Brahman that I am talking about is beyond the concept of any life, death, time, nothing touches it. It's beyond Kal, this entire area. Beyond it starts the cycle of time. You will find just beyond this square of Brahma are the 12 Adityas, the sun. The sun gods, the 12 sun gods will be there. Beyond that will be the nakshatras, the moons, everything is there, all the planetary, entire planetary system. So basically what Vastu Purusha Mandala represents is the entire universe or cosmos. So now you can understand the Hindu temple represents the entire universe or the cosmos. Very interesting concept where we have the entire universe and cosmos within one structure. This is what Vastu Purusha Mandala represents. This science of Vastu is very important because it is also, not only does it represent the entire universe or cosmos, it is also a directional science with the directional gods represented in many other temples. And this science of Vastu was first seen in the Stapatya Veda, which is a part of the Atharva Veda. It is an Upaveda, part of the Atharva Veda, and it's a purely technical subject. And this knowledge remained confined to the Stapatis, the ancient architects, which was then handed over to the heirs following oral traditions, meaning it was spoken to them and they learned it by heart. This is how the ancient Indian tradition knowledge passed on. Initially we did not have the writing, we did not have textbooks. We were passing on knowledge orally. That is why most of our texts compilations are from a later period, while the knowledge goes back to a very past history. Like just for example, Rig Veda has knowledge starting from Ice Age, but the Rig Veda was compiled later. So this is how Indian knowledge systems works. Our knowledge is very old, but we had oral traditions when we was passing on the knowledge orally, and later the texts were compiled. So it's very difficult to date the Indian texts for this reason. If you say how old is Rig Veda, it is very difficult to say because the knowledge is very old. The books were compiled later. This has always to be kept in mind when you're dealing with Indian knowledge. For some of the books that deal with Indian architecture, ancient Indian architecture, are the Matsya Purana, Skanda Purana, Agni Purana, Garuda Purana, Vishnu Purana. And besides the Puranic text, it is our architecture is also there in the Mahabharata. Very beautiful descriptions of beautiful houses built for the kings. Ramayana also has them. Then you have the Vishwakarma Prakasha. You have Samarangana Sutradhara written by Raja Bhoj, 11th century. Very important for architecture books, for architecture students. Kashyap Silpa Shastra, Brihad Samhita is very important. Praman Manjari, then Maya Mata deals with the South Indian architecture basically. So these are very important books. If anybody is interested in Vastu Shastra, Indian architecture, these are the books that he or she should consult. So basically, from what we understood about the Vastu Purusha Mandala, it is that that's from the center, which is beyond all time or kal. What we find displayed is cyclical time in its sections in unit of days, months and years. And in these cycles, the different courses of the sun and moon are adjusted. Thus, as I had said before, the Vastu Purusha Mandala is a representation of the entire universe or cosmos, with recurring cycles of time showing the ordered living world. So basically, in the center is the world which is beyond the universe, which is beyond any kal, and surrounding it is the ordered living world where we stay. It's a very beautiful representation of Vastu Purusha Mandala in our temples. Our Hindu temple is a representation of the entire universe, which includes the non-living and the living parts.